Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Chavi Gupta, your online mentor. In this video, I am going to talk about what are the common mistakes people make while creating their resume. Now, as all of you know, your CV or your resume is of utmost importance, right? That is sort of the first vision that a recruiter or someone gets of you, of your profile, before deciding whether they should shortlist you for the next round and so on. That is why your CV is a really important piece of paper. Okay, so you should try to make it as better as you can. What we will do today is that I have done tons of CV review sessions in the past few years, and I have seen some mistakes getting repeated again and again. So I'm trying to get your attention to those mistakes so you don't make them and you can improve your resume. Overall, on resume making, I have already created 2 videos. The links of both of them are in description. Do check them out. They talk about the different sections, what you are expected to write in each section and so on. But today, let's just go through a few types of CVs that you should avoid making and what you should really aim to make. If this video helps you, please like, turn on your notifications so you get notified about whenever I create more content. Do subscribe and do share the channel with others you think it can be helpful. Now let's just get started. Now, as all of you know, that it's really important for your CV to be concise. Every single word in your CV matters. Every single word, because you're only getting some limited space. You're only getting a limited amount of time from the recruiter or from the person reading your CV. So you should ensure that every single word that you write, it is of good importance. Okay, so you have to ensure that. You have to also ensure that you have to differentiate yourself from the other pool of people who have sent their CV. So you cannot write very generic things. You should just avoid very generic things. If your CV is in English, you should just avoid writing, I know language English. You should just avoid that I can complete my responsibilities up to the desired outcome and things like that. And trust me, I've seen that in CVs. You should try to quantify as much as possible. This is a little bit related to the points above, because the more you quantify, the more you are able to differentiate and the more you are able to show the impact. So every single word that you write there gets a little more meaning. And I have also seen a different type of people who are really afraid of writing even things that they have done. So if they have done something that led to, say, some number of hours reduction in a particular type of task, they will not write it. They will just write what they did and they will not write the impact. So you should not be afraid of writing what impact your work did in your resume. So keep that in mind. Now with that, let's see a few sample resumes. These are just templates of sorts, but I've seen this time and again and what you should avoid. So in this first sample, what you will see is that the person has spent around 5-6 lines in just writing their own contact information and name. This all can ideally come in like one sentence. You can write your name, write your contact information, write your email ID, write your, I don't think date of birth is really needed, give your LinkedIn profile. You don't even need to give the link. You can just write like LinkedIn and give the link right there. So that will all save you space. As we had talked about, that every word matters. Everything that you write, every space that you utilize matters in your CV. That is why you should really optimize for space. And this is what we'll try to do in this particular example. Then there is something about career objectives. Now, ideally, this section, I have seen a lot of people write it. Some people write it well, but that is just a very few people who are able to write it well. In general, this is very generic. In general, this sort of repeats what you have written below. In general, it's not very useful. So I would avoid writing this. Instead, what you should do, if you have something to convey, then you should write that in a cover letter, or you should write that wherever you are applying, you should write that in the email body. This is what is recommended, and this should be personalized and custom for each company that you are applying. What happens when you write career objectives in a CV is that this is super generic. This is same for all the companies you apply to, and it makes no difference. It is just wastage of space. So I would avoid writing that. Then there are, let's come to professional experience. A little bit of things, I think there's a lot of margin. There are, each of the sentences that are there is sort of in 2 lines. Now when you write a sentence in 2 lines, I mean, it's okay if you have like bigger things to say, but you are wasting this space, right? If you are wasting this space, then you are again not utilizing your CV space to the optimum. I would avoid wasting such spaces. Just avoid doing this. Try to get your sentence, get your entire point in one sentence. Or if you have multiple things, you can just write it in 2 bullet points, try to divide it. Or if you have a really big sentence, it's okay, but ensure that you are covering a lot of the second sentence also. In no scenario can your bullet points go into 3 sentences. That is a total no-no, okay? Okay, I'll continue to talk about space. There is something like technical skills. This ideally can be like a side thing with probably interests, with probably, your language, etc. Anything that you want to mention, this can be a side thing. This doesn't need like its own 2-3 lines. Then there are some internships. This is a little similar. I don't think anyone requires key responsibilities to be written over here, because whatever you are mentioning are key. Whatever you are mentioning are something that you want people to, go through. So that is why I would not recommend that. Then coming to the education bit, I think there is a very good template of writing your education in a tabular format. Over here you write the institute or the degree, then you write the institute, then you write your percentage and any additional things, or you write year, and if there's anything additional you can make another column. That is a very concise, good to read, easy to scan thing that you can provide for your education and not waste so many multiple lines on it. Then there were some certifications, other interests, language, and there was declaration. Now see, you are sending your CV to someone. You will obviously try to ensure that the information provided by you is correct. I don't think that this adds any sort of value to your candidature. You should try to think about every section, every bullet point, everything that you write, how is this adding value? So this doesn't add any value. Now all in all, this CV did not have a lot of content, but it was still 2 pages long. That does not make sense. Your CV, you have to try to make your CV 1 page, or up till the time you have 2 years of experience, or maximum 2 pages if you are someone who has like 5-6 years of experience. Okay, you should not try to make your CV unnecessarily long. Okay, now I'll just go through a few sentences as examples. So this was the space optimization that you have to do for your CV. Now talking about the content that you really give. Let's read a few lines. Process data and apply it in an accurate manner to the required something using some knowledge. This is sort of like, okay, your day-to-day work, you do it, but you don't really talk about it in your CV because it is not something that shows me what you have really achieved out of it. Collection, standardization and validation of some data from companies publishing reports. Okay, again, you do it, but I cannot see the impact, I cannot see what the company benefited by you working there, right? Similar things with, there's some assisting, undertaking data entry, ensuring completion of assigned tasks as per the timeline provided. If this is a sentence in a CV, I would know nothing about what that person has done. I would say, okay, ensuring completion of assigned tasks on a given timeline. Now, these are the things that will never differentiate you from the people who are, in the pool of candidature. These are the things that you can write to fill your CV, but this will never differentiate you. Let me give you a few more examples, and then I will also tell you how do you, really solve for it. In this example, I think the technical skills could have come along with certifications, other interests and languages. You don't really necessarily need to write all 4 of these, but whatever you want, you can write. Okay. Now moving on to a second type of resume. Over here, I've seen similar things. I think again there was an objective, and see, this objective is as generic as it gets, right? Improve my skills to contribute towards organization goal as well as personal growth. Now this is, if this type of an objective or career goal or whatever the summary was over there, if this is what you have to write, you should not write it. Just don't write it. Don't waste space. Then they're like analyzing data that I extracted, proper documentation, creating and sending minutes of meetings. There were some responsibilities. This is a good table. This I like in general. I think a lot of spacing errors, etc. could be solved over here, but that is next level. I like the skills, but again, this can be combined with interests that are written over here, so that there's no extra space, and languages. So this CV also doesn't need to be 2-page. This can very well come in 1 page. So try to optimize your space in the CV. Try to write things that matter. Anything that doesn't matter too much, these are things that don't matter too much. You should just try to write them side by side and just have 1 column in the end. Okay, now I will talk about the types of the content that you really write. See, when you are writing, let's just take an example from here. When you are writing something like, you did something with data and you published some reports. Now suppose that is all you did in an internship or a job. When you are writing this, you are not giving me that where the data was used. You can give me examples like, published reports read by 200 people, okay? Or published reports used to share in some big group of people. Or by collection, standardization and validation of some data, you led to reduction in time in finding insights from this data, right? You probably led to, a common understanding of data within the company. These are the few impact examples that you can give. So whenever you write a sentence in your CV, you might, be thinking that, okay, I have to write what I have done, which is okay. So there are things that what you have done. Then there is like, whatever you do, there is some impact, there is some result out of it, that what did you deliver, and this could be the report. So for example, this could be collection of data and whatever, standardization, etc. What you deliver is the report, and then there's an impact that comes out of it, which is like, there's probably some saving in time, there is some common understanding of data, which also sort of results in saving in time for some kind of report that is shared outside. So you might lead to an increase in number of readers. There are tons of things that your work has impact, and sometimes we just don't think to that level. So whenever you are writing a sentence, try to ensure that you are writing about the impact. At least one of the sentences in each of your jobs or internships should be about impact. The next best thing that you can do is write about the result, which is also okay. The worst thing you can do is just write about what you have done, okay? Still, even if you have to write like any of these 3, it is really, really recommended that you quantify these. Now, how can you quantify impact? You can write how much time you saved, percentage numbers, how many readers you increased, etc. What was, sometimes there are savings in cost, etc. When you write your result, you can give, quantification like number of readers that you had in your particular report, number of sources it was shared, number of reports that you have shared, and so on. What you have done, you can still quantify that. Even when you write you collected and standardized data, you can mention what were the number of data sources that were there, number of databases that were there. Potentially, even while doing it, you improved the efficiency by some way, you can talk about that. So you can talk about all these things in your points. If you just write, I collected standardized data and published a report, I don't know anything about it. But if you mention these points there, if you mention these things, I'm more interested in what you have done and will ask you more questions around that, right? And that sort of gets your CV a little away from everyone else. Now that said, even after you do all of this, there's a chance that there's a lot of improvement that is possible in your CV, and that happens a lot in like the different CV review sessions that I have. So this was a CV which was a good one-page CV, very well formatted, everything was good, the sentences were of one line, the bullets were of one sentence, and so on. Even though there was a summary, I think it was okay enough, but still, as you can see, there were so many different changes that I sort of made in that CV. I sort of, was still asking them to put, each of those points in impact, why, how you did it, and so on. So there is always improvement possible in your resume, and that's okay. But you have to reach a good place, and then you can, just sort of pause your improvements or something. But you have to reach a good place. So you have to reach a CV like this. I will again try to just show my CV as well, to show what are the examples of these. So this is the education box that I was talking about. I have mentioned everything. I mentioned some key achievements that I had. Then coming to the next section, I have tried to quantify it as much as possible. So third out of so many applicants, AIR out of so many, out of top 1,000, and so on and so on. Even inside my work experience, I have tried to show impact. See, this is impact. Realize 90% time saving. And even when I'm saying that I monitored data sets, I'm mentioning the number around it so that it makes sense. Diagnosed, annual spend of so much, reduce spend by so much, build something automated. Just try to use these action words and try to use impact more. So this is just some example. This example also go on to, several online engagements and other things. But this is sort of an example of what my CV could also look like. So I hope that this video helped you out. I really hope that you can improve your resume, you can improve your CV, so that you can ensure that you get more shortlists, and you are also able to understand your own work better. The better you make your CV, the better prepared you are for the interviews. The better prepared you are to talk about what you did in the job and how it impacted other things. So just to summarize, CV making is two things mainly, the content and the readability. The content is essentially what you have done. If you have not done enough things in your life, if you have not done like internships, etc., I would highly recommend you to do that. The second thing is how you show it, which is what we discussed in this particular video. And how you write the sentences, etc. If you want to know what are the things that you can do, I have videos on profile building. Links are again in description, which you can see. How you can show is through this video. Then there's just readability, which is like the visual, how clean you make it, how structured you make it, and how concise you make your sentences. How do you bold the things that you want to be read? How do you ensure that it is just one sentence, and so on? That is what is important. So this is important in CV making, and I hope that this video helped you. You can improve your CV around this and get more shortlists and get to know more about yourself. So good luck. I hope this video helped you. If it did, please share, subscribe, and like the video. Send in your comments with feedback. Thank you so much. Take care.